Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we're going to be comparing a 2022 Ram 1500 Limited Night Edition to a 2022 Ram 1500 Laramie Night Edition. Now, the reason I'm doing this comparison is these trucks are about the same sticker price, and so now it begs the question, should you go for the Limited or should you go for the Laramie when the prices are about the same? Now, before we get into the video, I do want to mention if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get right into the video. Starting things off under the hood of the Laramie, we have a naturally aspirated 5.7 liter Hemi V8 that goes through an 8-speed automatic transmission, good for 395 horsepower, 410 pound-feet of torque. This one has the Ram airflow because it's the GT package. So that's a big benefit with the Laramie is you can get that Ram airflow. Now, apparently it slightly increases horsepower and torque, but it's like pretty much negligible from a driving experience perspective, but it's still a cool little thing to have under the hood, right? Now, popping over to the Limited, I just want to talk about engine options with both these trucks. You can get these same engines with the trucks. So you can get the EcoDiesel like this one has, you can get the 5.7 Hemi, the 5.7 Hemi e-torque, you can get the V6 as well. And it seems like Ram goes back and forth as to whether or not they offer the regular Hemi with the trucks. So yeah, it's kind of interesting, but regardless, if you can get an engine in one truck, you can most likely get it in the other one. Now, going over the front end of the Laramie, you guys can see here with the hood venting there, and then notice we got our e-torque badge off to the side, which has the blue accenting. And then pay special attention to the headlights with the design and shape. Now, you got the daytime running lights on the top and the bottom, and everything's blacked out because this has the Night Edition package added to it. And so you can see the contrast between the black and the white's really cool. And then also pay special attention to the grille as well. It's kind of another thing. This particular truck doesn't have tow hooks. It's an option you can add on the truck. It's pretty inexpensive. Now, popping over to the Limited, this one also has the Night Edition package. So it's got all the cool venting there on the hood. The thing that's funny about that Laramie is the Night Edition adds the sport hood, but also the GT package adds the sport hood. And so it like has two different packages that would add the sport hood, but the GT doesn't have like the cool blacked out package. Now, again, notice with the headlights, these are unique to the Limited, Longhorn, and then TRX. So different than the Laramie headlights, point I'm trying to make. Got tow hooks there on either side, and then also look at the grille with the design there on the grille. So that's also different with the Limited, and so it has, you know, the Limited has its own distinct look compared to the Laramie, whereas you can pretty much make a Bighorn look like a Laramie, pretty much, not quite, but you know, pretty close. And overall, I think that the front end of the Limited looks great. Now, popping here to the side of the Laramie, this is where things also get different. So, Laramies come standard with 18-inch wheels, but you can upgrade to bigger wheels. And then Limiteds come standard with 20-inch wheels, and then you can upgrade to bigger wheels. So you start at a larger size with the Limited in terms of standard wheel. And then you guys can see this has air suspension, actually, which is optional on the Laramie. Notice with the mirrors here how those are blacked out. You got the side steps that are fixed on this particular truck, and then you got your GT badge there in the back, which looks pretty cool. And then this one has the rear wheelhouse liner, but like I said, 4-corner air suspension. Now, popping over to the Limited, you can see how big those wheels are because it's got the 22s, which look fantastic. But you can see air suspension, it's standard on the Limited, so where it's an option on the Laramie, it's like $2,000 or something. You get it as standard equipment on the Limited. So I guess if you don't want air suspension, then, you know, Laramie, but if you do, then Limited probably is the route to go, but you can add it in Laramie if you want for some reason. And then notice there with, again, the wheelhouse, and then you've got the fender flares, which are body painted, got your Ram logo all blacked out. Well, the mirror's blacked out, but it's a black truck anyway, so it just all blends in. And then here's your full side view, and this one's in the higher ride height setting, if you guys are wondering. With the air suspension, it's at the top of the pucks, is what I like to say, even though it's just like raised with the suspension. Now, here's the key fob. So you guys will notice here with all of the functions there on the key fob, notice it has the Ram logo there on the back. And then you got the tailgate drop down, which is a pretty cool feature. Now, the Laramie does not come standard with a bed liner. You have to add it in. And then also like the bed utility group, which adds like the cargo sliders for the tie downs and the lights and all that kind of stuff. And then you can see here with the taillights how it's like black there in the center, which is pretty cool. And then of course you got the LED light around that. And then all of your badges here on the back end are blacked out as part of that night package, including the exhaust tips. And since this is a GT package, if you guys want to hear the exhaust, just go watch my original review on this. It has a special exhaust, so it sounds a lot beefier than a regular Ram 1500. But you can get this exhaust as an accessory, like not straight from the factory, but like at a dealership, basically, to add to the Limited after the fact. But then there's also a bunch of aftermarket companies like AWE or Corsa that have exhaust for the trucks as well. And then you guys can see here with the Limited, you have the Limited logo on the back of the key fob, so it kind of has its own special key fob, or at least it feels more special, right, because of that. Tailgate drop down, and since I filmed this review in the winter, got lots of snow going all over the place. Now, bed liner standard in the Limited, and the bed utility group, however, is not. So with the you know, cargo sliders and all that, that is part of the bed utility group. And this one has the tonneau cover, which is also another option on the truck. And then you guys can see there with the cargo light at the top, it's an LED. That's a cool thing that Ram updated for the trucks, is adding an LED cargo light. Just brighter, looks better as well. And then notice here with the tail lights, and then again, blacked out badges there on the rear. And then you guys can see the blacked out exhaust tips. Now this one, even if it had the 5.7 Hemi, it's not going to sound as good as the GT with the standard exhaust. It's going to be a lot quieter. And then again, parking sensors there at the rear. And then popping back over to the Laramie, this is where we're going to see a bunch of big differences. So pay attention to the texturing on the leather trim. And you guys can see we've got some Alcantara there in the center. And notice the blacked out trim, speakers for the sound system. And then again, pay close attention to the seats. So these from a design perspective are the same as what you actually get in the Limited. But just kind of look at the finish on the materials. That'll be the best indicator to kind of show you the difference with them. And then you can see ice buckets there in the back. And then notice we have heated seats for the rear, USBs, power outlet, and then you can see the cup holders there at the top. Man, I filmed this video during like the worst time of day, of course. But popping over to the Limited now. So you look at the leather, just look at like how it's kind of like a smoother texture. So the Laramie, they do like that, you know, rough cowhide texture with the leather, whereas this has like that really nice smooth texture that's like Napa, right? Whenever you hear Napa leather, that's what you always think is like the smooth texture. So that's kind of what the Limited has from a texture perspective. And then look at the seats, same thing. So you do have some cowhide there, as you can see with the texturing on the sides. But something to mention is it's different from the Laramie. So like they use like every piece of leather you see in the Limited is real leather, whereas it's not a guarantee in the Laramie. And then heated and cooled seats for the rear. And then notice the embroidery too. So I also have that. And then the floor mats are a lot different too, right? They get special Limited floor mats. And then popping back over to the Laramie, same thing with the door panel. Again, look at just like the texturing design of everything. So the best way for me to like kind of compare them is like the Laramie, it's like they just throw in nice materials, right? All like they just make like just nice materials. That's kind of what you get with the Laramie, is you get nice materials and you get luxury features too. And these seats again are specific to the GT package. You don't get those seats in a regular Laramie. Nice pedals down below, also part of the GT package. Got the pedal adjustment there, parking brake, and then notice the light control with the fog light and the cargo light. And then you guys can see there with the steering wheel how it's manually adjustable. And then popping over to the Limited, this is where I'd say, you know, with the Limited, it's like nice materials plus, you know, they kind of do a little bit more with the design with those nice materials. And you can see the wood trim there. And then all of your window controls, of course, and mirrors do have blind spot monitoring. They also power fold in. And then, yeah, like look at the speakers for the sound system, just how pretty that looks. And then same thing here with the front seats, just the overall design with the seat. I think it looks great. You got your adjustments there on the side, pedal layout down below, and then notice again the Limited floor mat. And then you guys can see the pedal adjustment, and then light control, steering wheel again, manually adjustable. And then going from that into the Laramie, yet again, notice it says Laramie when you actually start it up, which is pretty cool. But yeah, here's the steering wheel. So notice with the material use, just pay close attention again to that. It's perforated there on the sides, so you can get slightly better grip. Notice we have adaptive cruise control, regular cruise control, paddle shifters out of the Tier X, which are part of that GT package. Then controls for the center stack. You got your voice command, phone controls, radio controls there on the back of the steering wheel. And then of course you got a turn signal, windshield wiper stock. Can never forget about that. Going from that to the gauge cluster, as you can see, you've got analog gauges on either side with the Laramie, and then you have that screen there in the center portion. Notice the Ram logo at the top, which is in red. And then you got your performance section, which is kind of funny because it's a full-size pickup truck. But again, it's the GT, so it's the sporty version. And, you know, overall great digital gauge cluster there. And then you guys can see here with lane departure, then parking assistance, as well at the very top right there. Again, horrible to see because lighting. Now we got the 12-inch display here with this truck. Now this is not standard equipment with the Laramie, it's an option. Notice with the parking sensors, tow haul mode, stability control, and then you got the air suspension. And then you guys can see with the rest of the screen, so notice heated, cooled seats, heated steering wheel. You get heated, cooled seats with the Laramie package. That's one of the benefits of the Laramie package, so it's not like you have to get the GT or Night Edition to get those added into the truck. But the new infotainment system is relatively easy to use. And you can see with the Ram's new camera system, it's solid. So it's like a 360 camera system, and it just lets you see out of pretty much every single angle of the truck, and resolution is pretty solid. I guess not, the wheels aren't technically covered, but I mean they got enough. They got like side shots and everything that it's solid. It's crazy how spoiled we've become with cameras because of how solid they are for manufacturers. Notice we got the performance dashboard as well, so you can get your 0 to 60 with your, again, full-size luxury truck, which is kind of, I don't know, kind of funny in a sense. But yeah, I think overall they did a good job with the update. And then notice here, no dial shifter, and you can see the driveline select. So it has 4-wheel auto as well as 4-wheel high and 4-wheel low. You can turn off the auto stop start if you want. And then notice with the USBs there. And then we don't have a wireless phone charger here in the truck. And then we got the shifter there in the console area, again, as part of the GT package. Now, one thing to mention is you don't get the sliding center console if you do the shifter there. So that is something that you are conceding. So if you get a TRX or a GT, you don't get to slide the center console back and forth because it, has to be fixed for the shifter. Maybe one day they'll figure out how to make it so you can slide it, but that'd be so difficult with all the, just with everything, how it's connected. And then look at the material use on the dash, kind of like, again, the texturing on it. And then you guys can see here at the glove box. Also, look at the face of the glove box too, right? Just the plastic face. Just pay attention to that. And then you can see here at the top, we've got a power sliding window, and then you got the full panoramic sunroof as well. And then this one has the traditional mirror. Now here's a window sticker. Notice the base price of the Laramie before options are added. And then you can see total price with this truck, $75,000. It's pretty much as loaded as it gets for a Laramie. It didn't have everything, but it had most everything. Now popping back over to the Limited, there's a lot that I cut out because there's a lot of like redundancy with both the trucks. So notice the steering wheel, that's the big thing that I want to show you guys. So different with the material use, you got the wood trim, and then the leather looks different too. And then you still have the adaptive cruise control. No paddle shifters though on the back of the steering wheel. Get the radio controls, but again, no paddle shifters with the truck. And then you can see the stitching there. And then notice with the turn signal windshield wiper stock, that's all the same. And gauge cluster is different, right? It still says Ram at the top, but it's not like all red and aggressive. You got like the blue highlighting that is just normal for the Limited package. And so that's also kind of different from an aesthetic perspective. And then since this is a diesel, you got the DEF gauge. Same thing if you had a Laramie diesel, for example. You can see the 12 volt there at the top. And then notice with the leather on the dash, like look at how much smoother it is from a textural perspective. And it just, looks more upscale overall because of that. And so there's just as much coverage, but it just looks prettier. Same infotainment system, so we don't need to go over that. Dial shifter, though, with the Limited, you cannot get a center console shifter. Driveline select, however, is the same. You can see the dial looks nice. And then notice the storage space there, some USBs, and then you got the wireless phone charger. And then you have the Limited logo there on the center console. And this has the sliding center console, which is definitely a nice thing to have. And then, again, wood trim all throughout that looks fantastic. Got a full power outlet down there, and then you can see the leather trim on the side. And then look at the face of the glove box. Another thing. So you can see that's wood trim, not plastic. And then just again with the dash, nicer material use with the Limited. And then this one has the camera mirror system. And then panoramic sunroof. And then power sliding window as well. And then going from that over to the price of the truck, you can see $78,000. Now, if they had the same engine, the price difference wouldn't be, there wouldn't be a price difference, basically, because the EcoDiesel is a pretty expensive upgrade on the trucks. But if you option out a fully loaded Laramie to have the same exact options as a Limited, they're pretty much the same price. It's crazy. I know it's crazy, but that's how it is. So here's what I'd have to say. It's really just going to depend on what you're looking for, because they do have different exterior aesthetics, right? The Limited, even with the Night Edition package, still has more of that like luxury appearance on the outside, whereas that new Laramie GT with the Night Edition, right, has that sportier appearance to it. And again, not just the sticker, but just the sound too from the exhaust gives it kind of like just a sportier overall feeling. And then with the interior, the shifter and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of like a hard choice between both of them. Now, this is just my personal opinion. Take it for what it is. Since the prices are so similar, I lean towards the Limited because of the nicer interior. And like, when I look at things, Kate, they're going to drive pretty much identically. The only difference is that GT is going to sound better. And so if I wanted that nicer sound, I'm just going to go spend, $1,000, $2,000 on an aftermarket exhaust, right? They frankly would be even louder than that Mopar exhaust, which I'm not saying that exhaust is bad, right? And I think the GT package is still a good value if you option the truck out in a normal fashion. But when you go fully loaded to fully loaded, yeah, it's back and forth. I still love both of the trucks, but yeah, that would be my choice personally. Is I probably would go for a Limited Night Edition, and then I would get an aftermarket exhaust. But let me know which truck you guys would go for.